Yeah, kind of a pinch myself every day type of moment. Be able to go into Fenway Park for work and be in the bullpen every night. And obviously, 13 was such a unique year in a lot of ways. The Boston Marathon bombing, which shook the city in the area, and then having a team that kind of came out of nowhere in a lot of ways and ended up making a magical run to win the World Series. In terms of a dream season, that was probably as good as it gets. My wife was pregnant with my son. We talked about it being just the most incredible year. Went to the Red Sox, won a World Series. We had our first son, Logan. Moved back home to where I'm from, and but what a magical year that was. This is Brian Abraham, and welcome to Cassell's Corner Podcast.
All right, we almost had that right. You're like Chad Tracy. You weren't sure exactly how to say the last name. So welcome back to Castle's Corner Podcast, like Sam Cassell.
Okay,
Castle.
that's okay.
I'm your host, Tommy Cassell. So I'm joined today by Boston Red Sox Senior Director of Player Development, Brian Abraham. Abes, thanks for coming on Castle's Corner.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So for those that don't know Abes, what do you do for the Red Sox?
Senior Director of Player Development, oversee all of our minor leagues from Worcester all the way down to the Dominican Republic, oversee our on-field staff, medical staff, strength staff, mental skills staff, nutritional staff, and obviously the players and their development as they get into our system and rise through the ranks to hopefully make an impact in Boston.
Yeah, it seems like a lot on your plate. A lot of names to keep track of for sure.
A lot of names.
One name that's been prevalent here in Worcester and Boston the past 2 years. I'd be remiss not to ask you. I know he's not here anymore, so he's not really a prospect, but he was the number one prospect at one point. That's Roman Anthony. So you've known Roman since you guys drafted him, shot through the system. What has it been like to see a guy like Roman become a star, if you will, in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, it's been incredible to see. I think right from the moment he put on a Red Sox uniform, we know there was going to be a lot of success. In terms of the work ethic, in terms of the consistency, in terms of the actual skill itself. He showed all those things at a young age, and he's continued to improve, get better throughout his time with us. He's gotten bigger, stronger. He's hit the ball harder. He's become a better defender. Just in all facets of the game. He's a natural leader, and I think he's done an amazing job of being able to handle expectations, but also continue to perform. And as we've seen, he continues to do that in Boston, and I know he's going to help push our team, push the players around him, and continue to have success for himself as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a kid so young. I think he's about to turn 22 in May. What do you like most about Roman, either as a player or a person? Like, what is the most dynamic aspect of Roman Anthony?
He's very consistent, which seems like not a big deal, but I think in the game of baseball, where there's so many ups and downs, where you can have success, you can have struggles, when you're facing elite competition, being able to be consistent day in and day out with your work, with your preparation, with your play is so important. So I think it allows him to shine, allows him to maximize his skill set and perform at the highest level and make an impact at the highest level. So seeing him be able to do that in the pressure of a city like Boston, in the pressure of being a young superstar within this game has been really cool to see. And can't say I'm surprised at all because he's shown that ever since we drafted him.
Yeah, we miss having him here in Worcester, but obviously well-deserved promotion to Boston last year, and obviously he can lead off the Red Sox nowadays. So that's our only Boston question. Obviously, we want to talk about people here in Worcester and hear that people that might be in Worcester later on this year or next year, whenever that is. You tell me a lot that development is linear, right? And we're going to try to avoid those sayings that maybe is in the Red Sox playbook or Bible that they give to players when you guys draft them. But and it's funny when I talk to you sometimes, I'll talk to you, Abes, and then I'll talk to a player about 5 minutes later, and I hear the same things out of your mouth as the player's mouth. So I do enjoy that. Yeah, control the controllables, stay where your feet are.
Yep.
Yada yada.
All important things. All important things.
They are good things to follow, and for anybody, not just a baseball player. So here in AAA Worcester right now, we have Peyton Tolley, and he's the number one prospect in the Red Sox organization, according to multiple websites. Whoever you go to, Peyton Tolley's number one. His rise through the ranks last year was just meteoric. It was from high A to AAA to Boston all in 1 year after you drafted him in the year before. So what is it like to see Peyton do what he did last year and continue what he's doing now?
Yeah, certainly pretty special. I don't think we saw the talent, obviously. We saw the increase in velo in spring, and then that progressed throughout the season. We saw the development of the secondaries. I don't think any of us maybe would have seen him pitching in a playoff game in the first full season of professional baseball. But at the same time, he forced our hand. He produced. He got better. And because of certain situations that happened, roster situations that happened, he got the opportunity and then was able to continue to improve at the big league level. So it's been really fun to watch. He's someone who learns really quick. He takes on information. He makes adjustments. And then is a competitor, which I think anyone who watches the Boston Red Sox or is a fan of the Boston Red Sox, a guy that competes whenever he gets the baseball, feels confident enough to get any batter out. Those are the types of guys you want on the mound. And I know while he's not in Boston currently, like he's doing that here in Worcester and will get an opportunity at some point.
Yeah, and I think when we talked about Roman there, you said consistency and being a leader. I think Peyton even shows signs of that early on, and he's so young. He's 22 or 23 now. Do you see like a similar, like I know he's a pitcher versus a position player, and he's a little bit more boisterous, right? The mustache, he's taller, he's big, he's a big personality. But do you see similar things in Peyton that maybe you saw a little bit in Roman?
I do. I think just the willingness to learn, challenge himself, make adjustments, take feedback, and not take it personally if there's something they need to adjust. And at the end of the day, it's the player's career, it's the player's need to buy into what we're asking them to do. So it's a collaboration of player, coach, goals, and working on those. And I think both of those guys do an incredible job of taking the information that they have and then taking it onto the field. It's one thing to do it in the cage. It's one thing to do it in the bullpen. But then taking that into game action is a really hard thing to do. And those guys have both been able to do it really quickly. Peyton at an incredible rate. So, definitely different personalities for sure. I would say for Peyton, the consistency is something I think can improve. There are times where we see the flashes of that dominant top-end starter. There are times where the secondaries are a little bit off or he's not throwing consistent strikes, but it's certainly there. And I think once he's able to do that, we're looking at a dominant pitcher up in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think what we talked about early on with him in the season was getting those secondary pitches thrown for strikes, whether that's curveball, changeup. Is that kind of what he needs? Is that exactly what he's working on right now? Where the fastball is obviously there, but throwing those secondary pitches for strikes, is that his biggest focus right now?
Yeah, it is. I think it's hard because he has such a dominant fastball. He's working on a two-seam. He's got the four-seamer and the cutter, so the three-headed monster of a fastball, which can really get a lot of hitters out. But it's making sure we can supplement that fastball with whether it be a get-me-over curveball or a changeup with the right shape and depth to keep hitters off balance. So that is something he's really been focusing on down here, and then just pounding the strike zone with his stuff. So we're definitely seeing progress. I think a lot of us feel like he's ready when needed, but at the same time, there's a lot he can still work on for that consistency to happen up at the big league level.
Yeah, Peyton's just obviously someone to watch. You have a lot of pitchers here in Worcester that are fun to watch. One that's relatively new, you traded for him in the offseason, Jake Bennett. He's impressed so far in 2 starts. What have you liked from him? And I was even kind of surprised to see him here in Worcester right away. So what has he done to show you guys that he's on the precipice?
Yeah, he came to the rookie program this year. We got to know him for the week that he came to Boston, which was nice. I think a new kid, new organization. Just had Tommy John last year, pitched in the fall. He did really well. I think first and foremost, the physicality. He has a lot of natural size. It's just continue to get him stronger. There's more left in the tank there to continue to throw harder. You have a big left-hander with good extension, unique qualities to a fastball. If he adds a couple miles per hour velo, we're talking about an elite fastball in a lot of ways. So that first and foremost, and then I think just the willingness to attack the zone. We've seen that in his first couple outings here in Worcester. He's pounded the zone with his heater. He's challenged with his secondaries, and he's able to get outs in the strike zone. And that is really important when you get to the upper levels because AAA hitters, big league hitters certainly, as we have seen, especially with the ABS, they are not swinging at pitches on the edge or off the edge. So challenging the strike zone with his stuff, his power stuff, I think is really important. And we've been really happy with the work ethic. We've been really happy with the player, the person, and his willingness to come on, meet a lot of new people, hear a lot of new ideas and thoughts, and take them out to the mound and improve. Yeah,
it's another lefty. We're kind of getting a lot of lefties here from you and Breslow, a former lefty pitcher for the Red Sox. I'm interested to see if they're a little lefty bias nowadays with the Connolly Earlys. You got Garrett Crochet, Ranger Suarez in Boston, and obviously we have Bennett and Tolley here, and maybe left-handers are the new fade in baseball.
Yeah, I don't know if Brez has a bias. I think he has a bias towards good pitchers. So if they're lefty or righty, I don't think we care. It just so happens that a lot of our guys are lefty, which is a good thing. But I think we have a lot of right-handers that are coming on their way as well. But it's been really good to see the left-handers really, I think, shine and grow with us here at the upper levels.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get to a couple of those in a second. But you mentioned ABS there, automatic ball strike system. I'm curious to hear your honest feedback or thoughts about ABS as a former catcher, and then obviously we're just talking a lot of pitching here. It's changed maybe how pitchers attack hitters in the major leagues and in minor leagues, and it's kind of changed the game a little bit. What do you think about ABS?
Yeah, admittedly, it's been happening in Worcester for the past couple of years, and it's definitely an interesting part of the game. And I think that teams can utilize it depending on their game planning and when to use it, the situations that they need to use it or want to use it, whether it be pitchers, whether it be hitters or catchers. And then I think the most important part is the leverage of the game. It's a 2-0 count in the second inning with no one on base and 2 outs. Is that really the best time for a challenge? Probably not. So making sure that you have your priorities straight when it comes to that. But I will say watching big leagues for the first week or so definitely probably was a little bit more exciting than I expected. I think back to our game against Cincinnati, there were a bunch of challenges and the fans were getting into it. I don't know if I've seen that at the AAA level as much, but definitely has brought a uniqueness to the game, and it definitely changes, I think, the way pitchers pitch a little bit, and umpires probably call the game as well. So I think balancing all those things out, like we say, it's a game of adjustments, so everyone will adjust to this. And I think the flow of the game over the last few days, it's been a little bit more fluid in terms of just the pace, the need to challenge, when to challenge. And I think spring training, everyone got an opportunity to try it out, but it's really not the same because the games don't matter. So it was, hey, let's try, if we're seeing the plate this way, if we feel like this is a strike, let's take advantage of it. Let's not leave challenges on the table. Then the game comes and it's trying to be aggressive but not too aggressive, so you have an opportunity to maybe take advantage of it late in the game when you feel like there's a real missed call that could make a difference.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch and fascinating, I think, with the ABS when we get later in the season when every game matters in the 162-day schedule, but I think in the playoffs and even in big September games to see if teams save their challenges or whatnot. It's going to be another fun new aspect of baseball, which is kind of gaining popularity the past couple of years with the pitch clock and now ABS kind of weeding umpires out of the game a little bit, but also speeding up the game. ABS maybe not so much, but it's another fun little wrinkle to the everyday baseball game. So
yeah, I think Major League Baseball has done actually an incredible job of trying to keep the game moving forward, and the pace of play obviously has been a huge benefit. I think for anyone who's at a lot of minor league baseball games, the pitch clock has been a amazing addition to professional baseball, and I think people would argue at the big league level it's been great too. So I think just kind of look for ways to improve the game and keep it enjoyable, obviously for the players, the coaches, and the people that are watching it daily, but also the fans. No one wants to be sitting at the park for 5 hours while a pitcher walks around the mound for 2 minutes trying to figure out what pitch they're going to throw. So I think trying to make sure the checks and balances of keeping the game in its traditional sense, but also making sure it's pushing forward and staying innovative and creative.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the game evolve through your time, and we'll get to you in a little bit later on about baseball. But I want to wrap up Worcester for a second and get to a little bit lower levels of the Red Sox organization. And I want to keep it on prospects because we could talk about the Christian Campbells, the Mickey Gaspers of the world, and even some more pitchers like a Tyler Uberstein who just made his MLB debut. But one player that's really stuck out to me so far this year that looks a lot more comfortable at the plate and just looks a lot more comfortable in general is Mikey Romero. And I think people forget how young he is, and he was a former top draft pick from you guys. What have you seen from Mikey, especially the past year since he's been here in Worcester?
Yeah, it's funny you say how young he is. I was actually looking at the scoreboard yesterday, and it said he was born in 2004, and I graduated high school in 2003. So made me realize, yes, he is young. But Mikey came into camp last year a lot heavier, bigger, stronger, was impacting the baseball more. This spring training, he came in same strength in terms of what we measure for strength, but a little bit of a lighter overall body weight. It's allowed him to move better, I think continue to swing the bat faster, and really impact the baseball consistently like we've been hoping. The biggest thing for him is swing decisions. When he narrows the zone down, when he swings the pitches in the strike zone, he does damage. When he starts to expand, when he starts to chase, that's when we find, like a lot of hitters, the problems in the weak contact that we're not looking for. So I think what we've seen so far this season is his ability to shrink that strike zone up and swing at pitches he knows he can drive, and he's been able to do that to all fields, not just to the pull side, but the other way as well. So he had a great camp. He had a great major league camp, his first major league camp, and he started out really strong here in Worcester. And despite the youth, I think he's a guy who could be knocking on the door at some point, and a guy who could be an impact bat for us. And he plays third, he plays second. He has some versatility. He's athletic. There's a lot of things he does really well, and I still think there's a ton of room to grow and improve upon as well, which is also really exciting.
Yeah, that's the exciting part of being here in AAA Worcester, because a lot of people said the biggest jump is from AA to AAA. And you could see it last year with him and some other guys, and I just feel like this year we've seen kind of that jump be made, and he feels a lot more comfortable, it looks like, on the field, just in his own shoes, which is got to be good for you, too, to see a player like that, how young he is, to be developing in AAA to, hopefully at some point being, like you said, someone that's kind of knocking on the door. Maybe not knocking on the door just yet. And I don't really know much about these guys, albeit I'll pay a lot more attention to AA and AAA because that's people I'll see through the year. But who knows? Like we said last year, Peyton Tolley made it from high A all the way to Boston. So you never know. Development is linear. But there's 3 guys that are in the top 10 for Boston Red Sox prospects on MLB.com that are currently in high A Greenville. And I don't really know much about them, so I was hoping maybe you could shine a little light. And I think the first one that comes to mind is Kyson Witherspoon, a top first-round pick for you guys. I know you haven't seen him much, right?
Yeah.
But you've seen him a little bit in spring training, and obviously you make your way around the country, if you will. But what do you see from him, and what can the Sox fans be excited about from him as a pitcher?
Yeah, just an advanced arm that pitched high level in college, that had a ton of success. Already has a pretty mature pitch mix. Has a fastball that touches 97, 98 with really good shape to it that gets strikes, gets swing and misses in the zone. And then again, the secondary arsenal is advanced as well. He's able to throw all the secondaries for strikes, able to challenge hitters, and just a really mature presence and understanding of what he needs to do to get outs. Not surprisingly, just consistency is something that's really important for him as he continues to progress. And I think really narrowing down his pitch mix to really focusing on the pitches that can have the most success. A lot of times we get guys from the college ranks or wherever they come, and they have 5, 6, 7 pitches or pitches that do different things in different situations. I think for us, it's really making sure that we're maximizing their best pitches and focusing on those. And then there's a point at time where we potentially can expand and work on the pitch design to improve some of the other pitches. But overall, just a kid who, again, a fastball that is electric, has secondaries that he can challenge with in the strike zone. And just a really good feel about a competitor wants to take the ball every 5, 6 days, and a guy who can get out to the strike zone, and someone who I expect to move fairly quick. But at the same time, like, there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of focus to improve upon all the skills that he has.
Yeah, he's a college kid, obviously, so he's had a little more seasoning than some of the other guys that are in the high A or lower levels of pitching staffs, right? So he's a little bit older. I think he's 21. Someone who has an electric fastball down there too, I believe, is Juan Valera, another right-handed pitcher, I believe, for you guys. He's a little bit younger. You signed him, I think, out of the Dominican a couple years ago. I think he's just 19.
Yep.
But he's got a fastball that's almost touching 100. Is he kind of similar to Kyson, just a little less seasoned, maybe?
I would say the fastball a little bit less refined. Like he touches 100 often. Sprays a little bit more around the zone, like good control, but the command I think can be hit or miss. There are times where he can go through a lineup and cut through it depending on the type of hitters that he's facing. But I think we saw times in spring some of the mature hitters will lay off some of the stuff just because he kind of sprays it all over the place, and he's trying to find the best way to pitch consistently in the strike zone. So his fastball is electric. He's got a cutter and a changeup that are both really strong plus pitches at times. But it's just, again, consistency in the strike zone with the stuff he has. His fastball, the shape is come and go in terms of the swing and miss ability, but when you're throwing 100 plus, it gives you a little bit more room forever. So we continue to refine that and the best way for him to dominate with it. But yeah, I think in a lot of ways the stuff plays like Kyson, but I think there's still more consistency that's needed. And he missed a lot of time last year due to injury, so it's just repetition, opportunity to face hitters, opportunity to face the challenges and the adversity that happens in a professional baseball season that he'll need to work on. But that will happen this year, and we're really excited about the arm. And again, another young guy that has a ton of room to grow, which is when you already have the stuff that these guys have, the chance to develop more is what's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously you have guys here to develop in AAA and AA, but I think even the younger guys must be like a fresh paint of a canvas, or like something that you can kind of mold a little bit. They have the good colors, or they have potential, but it's kind of your job, maybe even more so at that level when they're that young, to push them in the right direction or give them stuff to work on. Where you have a Peyton Tolley here who's really working on a secondary pitch in the zone, right? Like that's like the refinement there, as opposed to the real development that comes in the lower levels. One more player I don't know much about, but I heard or saw a lot about from spring training was, I believe, an outfielder, Justin Gonzalez, 6'5", I believe.
I think 6'7".
6'7".
Yeah.
Like he towers over you and I.
Gets taller every time we talk about it.
Yeah, the legend grows. But he was hitting some moonshots apparently in spring, and has a lot of power apparently. Is that something that excites you?
Yeah. In terms of what he could be, the sky's the limit in a lot of ways. He has the physicality, he has the athleticism, the power. It's just being able to swing at the right pitches, hit the ball in the air. That's a big focus of his, hitting the ball in the air. No one wants 110-mile-per-hour ground balls these days. You need them to hit the ball in the air for damage, for impact. He already has a couple home runs this year, which has been great to see. Plays a solid outfield, corner outfield, but he'll play some first as well. But again, in terms of just the raw power, it's off the charts. And great kid, really good work ethic, really good teammate, high energy, a bit of a jokester in some ways, but also at the same time, when he steps in between the lines, he's very serious and a competitor. So someone who it's easy to dream on when you see him. There's not a lot of people who are just blessed with the size that he has, and he's shown the ability to be a really impactful player. Now it's just, again, hit the ball in the air, swing at the right pitches, and be able to get better every day.
Yeah, I think we're craving a power hitter at some point, for the system, right? And it's not easy to develop that. And like you said, he has natural size and ability. It sounds pretty exciting to. We'll see how his development goes. I also like a jokester, which usually means a good quote or two. Like, I miss having Marcelo Meyer here because Roman's more buttoned up and professional, but very good with the media. But Marcelo was, on the field, very serious, and also off the field, but also would give you a good quote or a good laugh every once in a while. So we like those guys around the clubhouse. I'm sure you enjoy it too every once in a while.
I do.
In moderation. All right, so we could talk, Abes, all day about prospects, and I know that's kind of your job, and that's why I wanted to start off with that. But I do want to get a little bit into you. Your story is pretty amazing in baseball. You're a local guy. You're from Worcester. No longer living in Worcester, though, right?
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury.
Yep. Close.
Very close.
Pull me back.
And you went to St. John's Shrewsbury. You played baseball there. So I just want to introduce people a little bit about your story because I think it's, like I said, interesting. So St. John's Shrewsbury, grew up in Worcester, played at Holy Cross right down the street. You're a catcher. So I think you were possibly going to go into law school.
That was, my college plan. Yes, law school. My dad's a lawyer, so it made a lot of sense to go that route, potentially. Maybe still in the future. Who knows?
Okay, we'll see. Do you think would you make a good lawyer?
I mean, I like to talk, so possibly.
Now, in 2007, and mind you, I'm looking here at my computer. I searched your LinkedIn profile here, so keep it very professional, And you became a coaching staff assistant with the Toronto Blue Jays. How did you end up with that organization, the Blue Jays?
So JP Ricciardi, who is supporter of the Red Sox and is on TV now and was a GM for the Blue Jays at the time. My uncle was actually the assistant trainer for the major league team, and they needed someone to help catch bullpens down in spring training. So I went down, caught a little bit, threw a little BP, just kind of was a extra set of hands to help the staff. And toward the end of camp, the person who was doing video got sick, and video in terms of showing players their at-bats, their pitching mechanics that charted the game in the clubhouse. And JP had asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. I really didn't know much about it or what exactly that was, and I said yes. And JP said, I'm happy you didn't have to think about it, because if you did, it wasn't for you. And I think back to that question and how my life could have changed if I had said, let me talk to my parents about it. And it could have been a lot different. So a week later, I was on the private plane with the Toronto Blue Jays going to Detroit for opening day, and really never looked back after that. So video, ended up doing some advanced scouting, caught in the bullpen still, through batting practice every day. Again, an extra set of hands on the field, and just really learned and try to soak up all the information I could between the front office, major league coaches, major league players as a 22, 23, 24-year-old, just really definitely out of my comfort zone, and definitely probably underqualified, but at the same time, I think building relationships and building trust with the players and coaches allowed me to continue to grow and educate myself on this game and help me really build who I am today.
Yeah, it's funny. If you said no to JP Ricciardi, you might have a billboard out here with like your face on it and call the office of Abraham and Abraham.
Maybe.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that you go back to 2007, 2008, whenever that was, or 2009. I can't remember exactly when you started with the Blue Jays, but to think that decision could have had such a ripple effect to where you are now here with the Boston Red Sox. But
it makes me think about how important relationships are, whether it be knowing JP for a long time and then working hard for him to trust me in the role, and then I think John Gibbons was the manager at the time. Cito Gaston became the manager. Then John Farrell became the manager. I became very close with John Farrell, and he's really the one who introduced me to player development and something that he thought would interest me, and it did. I was able to look down structurally with the Blue Jays, a little bit more about the minor leagues and what that entailed. And then when John Farrell went to the Red Sox, he brought me to the Red Sox. So one of the things I always tell people that ask about trying to get into baseball is it's about building relationships and learning and growing and never feeling like you know this game because you learn something new every day. But to me, building relationships and being personable and getting to know people is so valuable. And that's honestly that's the reason I love player development because whether it be on the field or in the locker room or travel, going to affiliates, like the relationships and the personal side is here on the minor league side. And not that it loses at the major league side, but I think there's a different space. This is a different space, and it's so unique within baseball operations that not everyone gets to be a part of. And again, building those relationships, building trust with players and coaches is something I value very much, and I learned at a very young age through really important people like John Farrell and JP and guys like Brian Butterfield and Torey Lovello. I've been very blessed to be around a lot of really good baseball people that taught me the importance of being a good person, working hard, and learning from those around you.
Those are some names that Red Sox fans love to hear, like
Yeah.
Torey Lovello. John Farrell obviously had a couple stints here in Boston, and I want to get there in a second, but I do want one more Toronto Blue Jay memory. I want you to talk about it. You mentioned like throwing batting practice. I believe you threw at the All-Star game home run derby. You were the pitcher to Jose Bautista, correct?
Correct. 2012 in Kansas City.
So you were the big stage.
I was.
2012. You kind of worked your way up, right? You developed the relationships. You kind of were working your way up the Blue Jays, and then you get thrust into this role, on ESPN probably, right? What was that like to throw the pitches for a home run derby?
Yeah, he asked me. I had thrown to Jose Bautista's group and Edwin Encarnacion and Escobar and a handful of really good hitters, Adam Lind, just some really good players with the Blue Jays. And he was in the home run derby the year before, struggled a little bit, and he asked me if I would want to throw to him. And I did not say yes initially. I was terrified, quite frankly, but I did. My wife, fiance at the time, convinced me I should do it. I was terrified, but talk about an incredible experience. Be able to throw in front of 40, 50,000 people live, and then everyone at home on TV. And he did pretty well. He finished in second place, but experience that I felt like if I could do this, I could do anything in a lot of ways. And just a really so thankful for Jose. I still talk to him in terms of just be able to build a relationship and a friendship with him. But an incredible player that gave me an incredible experience that I will never forget for sure.
100%. Jose Bautista is so funny. He follows me on Twitter. Like this guy is a character, and he came in second. I wonder if he came in first that year. They gave out cars back then, or like I don't remember who the sponsor would have been in 2012. But like, would you got in a little cut of that?
Maybe, I don't know.
But like second place doesn't probably get much money.
I mean, I didn't get anything. It was just the experience. I got a signed jersey from a bunch of the players, a gold ball that we got, and Jose took care of me. But he was great, and just the experience alone, being able to be in the locker room with Derek Jeter was there, and Robinson Cano and Prince Fielder. I mean, just these unbelievable players, these superstars that I still am young, but just being around these guys was so incredible. So the experience alone was worth it.
Yeah, that's a cool memory. So you parlayed that into coming to Boston. Obviously, you mentioned your relationship with John Farrell. You were the bullpen catcher right away in 2013 or
13 and 14.
Yeah. What was that like? I mean, that's a different experience. You're over there at Fenway Park every day catching some of these guys. I think you caught Craig Breslow at one point, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Yeah, kind of a pinch myself every day type of moment. Be able to go into Fenway Park for work and be in the bullpen every night. And obviously, 13 was such a unique year in a lot of ways. The Boston Marathon bombing, which shook the city in the area, and then having a team that kind of came out of nowhere in a lot of ways and ended up making a magical run to win the World Series. In terms of a dream season, that was probably as good as it gets. My wife was pregnant with my son. We talk about it being just the most incredible year. We went to the Red Sox, won a World Series. We had our first son, Logan, moved back home to where I'm from, and but what a magical year that was. The players that we had, the experiences that we had, what we were able to do, or what the players were able to do for the city, for the region, in the wake of such a tragedy. It was pretty special. So a year I'll never forget. You build relationships with. I think when you win at that level, the relationships you build with the people that you're kind of in the grind with day in and day out, the ups and the downs of a long major league season, they last forever. So it was a special group. Andrew Bailey was on that team, who's now the pitching coach for the Red Sox. Craig Breslow was on the team. There's a lot of Jake Peavy, who's on MLB Network. There was a lot of superstar. There's plenty of players on that roster that are still pretty important people to this day, but just being able to be around those guys, a ton of superstars, a ton of really good guys, and to me, showed a lot of believing in yourself and believing in your teammates, what that can do. It's not just all about talent. There's more to a winning baseball team than just the talent on the field, and I think that 2013 was very representative of that.
2013 might be my favorite year of Red Sox history recently, or at least for this kind of this run here with John Henry and the ownership group. I was there. Shane Victorino hit a home run in the World Series, I believe, one of your home games. I'd never heard Fenway Park louder than after that. Obviously, the Torrey Hunter no catch into the bullpen with Steve Horgan with the arms up was against the Tigers. Were you in the bullpen?
I was
for that moment.
I was. So we had two guys warming up at the time. Mani, who was the other bullpen catcher, was warming up. I forget who he was warming up, but I believe I was warming up Tazawa, and it happened, and we were kind of both on the ground. If you watch the video, I kind of stand up, and you can see my head, but Mani catches the home run, and then Torrey Hunter comes flying over, and I actually remember asking, everything had, Torrey Hunter was down, we made sure he was okay, we got him up. We were going sitting on the bench. I actually believed, I asked Brez, like, man, I can't believe we're within one. He's like, that was a grand slam. Just the moment was just so crazy, and it was a tie game. It was incredible, but yeah, it was crazy moment, a surreal moment, a good one for the Boston Red Sox, and one I never get sick of watching. It's just one of those cool things that happened that changed again that season, and the opportunity for us to win a World Series. He doesn't hit that grand slam, and that Detroit Tigers team was pretty darn good. So that was a big one, and we took care of the rest after that.
That's so funny. I didn't realize you would be in the bullpen your job was bullpen catcher that year. You're warming up Tazawa, who was a great relief pitcher that year for the Red Sox. And how upset maybe were you not the one to catch it, though?
I'm just happy I didn't do anything stupid that they had that video for. My biggest regret is not lifting up my arms like Steve Horgan. I could have been the face of T-shirts and maybe been on John Henry's duck boat. But other than that, pretty cool memory for sure, core memory, that play.
Yeah, I saw Horgan the next year. Me and my buddies went to the Red Sox game. I grew up here, so I grew up as a Red Sox fan, and we got a photo with our arms up doing the Horgan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I wonder how tired he was and how bad his shoulders are nowadays after having to do that. Everyone that goes to Fenway would see him. They'd say, "Hey, Steve, let's do the thing." But
I think he appreciates it.
He made that okay after that.
Yeah, he did all right.
So obviously that was your first year in Boston, a magical year. Like you said, the Red Sox won the World Series. That David Ortiz grand slam was a big part of it. You're right there, front and center. And then 7 years later, you get promoted to kind of your current role of senior, where you were director of player development for the Red Sox. Now you're senior director. What has this journey been like with the Red Sox? Obviously, you started with the Blue Jays, connections there with J.P. Ricciardi and John Farrell, then came to Boston, and now you're in the role where you are head honcho of player development. What's that been like for you?
Surreal in a lot of ways, but really lucky to be around some great people that I think believed in me and have supported me and given me opportunity to grow and learn and challenge what I've known and what I think I know to be better. Ben Sherrington, at the time, I don't think moving a bullpen catcher into an assistant director of player development role was probably, the tops on people's priorities, but I really appreciate Ben taking the chance, and Ben Crockett, who was farm director at the time, taking a chance on me to be able to go into that role and learn and grow. And I didn't have front office experience, but I had a lot of baseball experience in terms of what it was like to be a big leaguer, and felt like I could take that and help supplement what we were already doing on the player development side. So, a ton of credit to him. And, again, I mentioned, John and Torrey and a lot of people, Kevin Cash, who I had worked with, just a lot of people supporting me and pushing me to make that transition and move into the front office and be a part of player development. So, one thing I've learned, and I said it earlier, just, you learn something new in this game every day. And I think where the game has gone today from where it was when I first started player development is just the growth has been exponential in terms of how we look at players, how we evaluate players, how we handle player development itself, and how we make decisions and how we train. Things have changed so much, and I think just one thing I've realized: you have to be open-minded, you have to be innovative, you have to be okay doing things different. But at the end of the day, getting players better and pushing them towards the ability to have success in the major league level is the ultimate goal. And I think sometimes being okay with not always doing things the same as everyone else is really important. I've I'm in a place now where I feel comfortable doing that. Where I think when you're younger and you're kind of just trying to find your way, that's a little bit harder to do. But we've done a really good job of hiring with some really good people that have challenged the game of baseball and want to push the game of baseball forward, but also understand just because it was one way 30 years ago doesn't mean it has to be the same as it is today. And getting players better and pushing the organization to have success is the goal.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, your journey through baseball has been pretty remarkable, especially being a local kid from Worcester. But I would be interested to hear, I think people that maybe know your job title in a sense, like what is your week to week or day to day or even month to month look like? Are you hopping on a jet down to Florida this time of year? Are you mostly in Worcester to Boston? Are you going on taking your car up to Portland? Are you flying down to Greenville? Like what is your, and I know it probably changes week to week, but like what's kind of your day to day process to be able to keep tabs on everybody?
Yeah, I obviously spent 2 months in spring training, so that's every year. That's a part of our life, my life, 2 months in spring training. And then throughout the season, I'm traveling to all the affiliates. Worcester's obviously great. It's a 15-minute drive from home, drive to Portland, which is a couple hours. But then we have Greenville, High A, Salem, Low A, the Florida Gulf Coast League are extended spring training currently in Fort Myers. Then I'm going, for example, I'm going to the Dominican next week for a few days to see our academy. So it's pretty constant travel. There's a lot of communication that's happening between our medical group, between our support staff, and making sure players are available and can play. There's a management of rosters day to day that has to happen, but there's also a really focus on the higher leverage areas, the big picture stuff, making sure guys are progressing towards their goals and making sure that they are training the right way and reaching the right touch points so they can progress and we continue to push them further. So we're really lucky to have a really strong amount of information. Our analytics and our R&D group does an amazing job of providing the baseball staff with a ton of support and resources to make sure guys are tracking and progressing the right way. But there's a lot of phone calls, there's a lot of Slack messages, and then there's a lot of, I guess, kind of things that pop up that have nothing to do with baseball when you're in the farm director role that you have to deal with, whether it be housing, whether it be travel, whether it be, a player forgot to bring their luggage to so-and-so and how we're going to figure out how to get it there. So there's definitely a huge baseball part of it, but I think somewhat unique within baseball, the farm director or the front office player development space, there's a lot of non-baseball stuff that happens as well that can be sometimes just as important as the on-field stuff. But at the end of the day, I think we do a really good job of making sure that the focus is on the field and that players getting better is a priority. And anything we can do to support the players and our coaches to get them better is really valuable. So, and I should say too, I've obviously mentioned players a lot, but like making sure we have the right staff in the right places, making sure we hire the right people. We're so lucky to have an amazing leadership group. We hired Robbie Britt out of Eastern Michigan last year, Ben Buck, our director of pitching, Jason Ochard, our director of hitting, Tyson Blazer, assistant field coordinator, Jordan Elcree, our assistant farm director. There's so many people that make such a huge impact that I wouldn't be able to do my job with their support and the people that are reporting up to them. So it's really, we have a really strong system in place where, I'm obviously overseeing the larger space, but then individually our coordinators and our directors oversee people that directly report up to them and making sure we have the right systems and processes in place for guys to improve daily. So it's a fine-tuned machine that we feel like can run daily, but there's always some kinks at times that we have to adjust to throughout the year. But there's always something that pops up, whether it's baseball, non-baseball, and keeps me busy for sure.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. That was a good plug there. I like that you got some names in there. And also, like full-time farm director, maybe you can put on your LinkedIn profile like part-time babysitter, part-time travel agent. Like you are dealing with a lot of young kids that are maybe new to the country or new to like speak different languages, and also just developing through baseball as opposed to college or high school or through the families. Like your job is to make sure these people become not only good baseball players but also develop as a human too. Yeah. So it's another aspect that's kind of lost in the shuffle when it comes to professional sports, especially minor league baseball. Is like these guys aren't going to college and maturing that way. They are maturing in the clubhouse, in the locker room, on the field, and that's no easy task for managers or directors or whoever else is on staff. So
that's definitely true.
A lot of going on behind the scenes. I didn't want to also, and you mentioned your wife, and did you get married in 2013?
2012.
2012. Okay, so first year getting married. You mentioned your son Logan. I just actually was talking to your brother recently, who was the head coach at Worcester Academy for baseball. Going to catch the Hilltop at some point this year. I don't know, like your son's obviously here a lot. Do we have a future catcher in our midst, or does he play a different position?
He's a catcher.
Okay.
He's a catcher. Yeah, he has to be. It's Abraham blood. Although my brother Matt, who coached at Worcester Academy too, he's a shortstop. He was the athlete of the family. So, but Logan's a shortstop. Although my daughter is pretty athletic too. She is a dancer. I wish my son had her athleticism, but he's stuck with me and Mikey's catching acumen and probably power at the plate. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what we get on Abraham to write about it in the future, but we won't put any pressure on him there. But I'll definitely check out Mikey, your brother's team, and your other brother coaches with him too, which is kind of fun. So, well, Abe's, I think we hit our quota there with a little personal stuff, and also obviously some top Red Sox prospects that people are kind of clamoring to learn about and get to see at some point this year and in the future. Obviously, the goal is for most of them to hopefully make the big leagues. We know it's not always the case, but it's been exciting times here in Worcester again this year to see the development and have them be one call away from the show. So
Yep.
I know you probably enjoy having a couple of those calls yourself. I know a lot of them happen in person, but you probably had a couple.
Yeah, definitely. We had Tyler Samaniego yesterday. Yesterday morning, he was here in Worcester. We brought him into the office, sat him down, told him he was going to the big leagues, and a couple hours later, he was pitching the 8th inning. So it was definitely pretty cool when those things happen. But Trace and the staff here does such an amazing job of supporting our guys and taking care of them here in Worcester. But when he gets a chance to tell someone they're going to the big leagues and to reach the dream they have, there's really nothing better. So he's had some good videos, as we've all seen. But that's a pretty cool experience to be able to tell someone you've worked so hard to get to this point, and now you get to go up to play at Boston.
Probably the best stories I read all year are those call-up stories. So, Abe, thanks again for coming to Castle Quarter Podcast, and we'll see you in Worcester this year.
Thanks so much for having me.
That's it for today for Castle Quarter Podcast. I want to thank Brian Abraham, the Boston Red Sox Senior Director of Player Development, for coming in. You can watch our podcast on YouTube. You can also subscribe to Castle's Corner on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So until next time, I'm Tommy Cassell, and thanks for checking in.